Large and dangerous Helene is just hours from landfall. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasa with this Thursday evening update. It's about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and there is the satellite imagery, a very ominous looking sight. Hurricane Helene, now a major hurricane, a Category 3 storm with winds of 125 miles per hour, right around that eye, still intensifying. It is expected to be at least this strong, likely stronger when it crosses the coast in a few hours. It might well be a Category 4 hurricane at landfall. When we look at the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, right now we are right on the edge of Category 3 and 4. That is devastating wind damage, and that is nothing compared to the water that this thing is going to push into the coastline. Here's the latest on Hurricane Helene from the National Hurricane Center. As of 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Helene was at 27.9 north, 84.6 west, winds of 125 miles per hour. The pressure recorded from the aircraft recon was 951 millibars, so it continues to intensify as it zeroes in on the coast. It is racing north-northeast at 23 miles per hour. So you can do the math. You could take the distance from where it's headed divided by the speed at which it's moving, and that should give you a time frame of when we should see landfall, but it might move even faster than this. So we are getting very, very close here. I'm not going to go over the redundant information, the hurricane warnings. Everybody in that area should have been long since evacuated to higher ground, and all preparations to protect life and property should have already been completed. Look at this wind field. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 300 miles. The entire Florida peninsula, except for the extreme western panhandle, is under tropical storm winds. We had a gust near hurricane force in Venice. And the hurricane force winds are 60 miles from the center. So picture a 60-mile wide tornado ripping through the Big Bend of Florida and then spreading inland into Georgia. This thing is going to cause problems. It might even be a hurricane by the time it closes in on Atlanta. This is a very, very serious storm. Here's the infrared satellite, and I put on the lightning. Look at the lightning in the northeast eye wall. That is indicative of a very intense hurricane as it just sails to the north-northeast. It has that eastward component, but it's still dragging north, and all of this energy is getting pushed into the coastline of Florida. Here's another image, and look at this. This is not what you want to see, how solid the eye wall is, the core of the hurricane. And as long as it has that core over those hot, favorable waters, it will continue to strengthen. And so the wind speeds will go up, the barometric pressure will go down, and that water will swell. Very, very dangerous. The hurricane hunters are doing a great job. They fly not just the Air Force Recon, but the NOAA aircraft as well. Miss Piggy has been flying around out there into Hurricane Helene today, and as they fly around, they give us all the information we need to know just how strong the hurricane is. Earlier today, Kermit was flying out there. There's Kermit, there's Miss Piggy, there's Gonzo. Miss Piggy's been out there this afternoon, and they do a great job. Very, very dangerous. Here's the radar, and I wanted to show you, look at how dark red that eye wall is. It's within this eye wall where you have those winds of at least 125 miles per hour, and that's sustained. You could have higher gusts well into the Category 4 range, and look at Cedar Key, Spring Hill, Apalachicola, Perry. You guys are right in the path of this weather, and it's just going to go downhill very, very quickly. So if you are within this eye wall, if you have power down there, and I'll show that in a minute, and you guys get in this eye wall in areas of Perry, away from the coast, get to an interior room. If you're in an apartment complex, make sure you're as close to the center as you can be, away from windows, and get as many walls between you and the outside of Helene. And if you're in a house and you want to keep that wind from getting in the home, maybe go into a bathtub. It's going to be a very bad situation. The good news is it's moving very quickly, so hopefully it won't prolong the wind, and we could blow it out of there pretty quickly. There's another look at the visible right as the sun starts to go down. Very, very ominous storm bubbling there. And look at all this energy just pushing right into the west coast of Florida. That water rise has been tremendous. We've seen flooding in Naples. We've seen flooding in Tampa. This thing is so spread out. That water rise, like I always say, on the right side where you have that onshore flow is where Helene's water is going to cause the most damage. The storm surge 15 to 20 feet in that area. If anyone is near the coast, they will not survive. That's unsurvivable. You cannot survive 20 feet of water above normal tide levels with crashing waves on top of that, not to mention category 3 or 4 winds. It's just a horrible situation. But look at further south where you have that flow 5 to 8 feet in Tampa Bay, 3 to 5 feet in Charlotte Harbor, 3 to 5 feet down here, areas like Flamingo, Naples, Marco, Goodland, Inglewood, all down the coast, Bonita Springs. Everybody needs to be away from the water and just hunker down as this beast moves through. This is some of the offshore information. Look at this wave height. Look at the waves normally and look at how they're spiking. So you have the waves on top of the storm surge. Very, very deadly potential. Now, another aspect to the wetness of the hurricane is the rainfall. This rain outlook from the National Weather Service, everywhere from the Florida Panhandle through Georgia into the Carolinas, excessive amounts of rain. The potential in areas there of far western North Carolina for historic flooding. I mean, really, really bad flooding is going to be very, very dangerous. We also have severe weather whenever there's a landfalling hurricane. Look at these watches and warnings updating continuously. Raleigh, Tampa Bay, Tallahassee, Columbia, Melbourne, Jacksonville, everything from tornado warnings to flash flood warnings. I can't even go through all of them. There's so many, but that's all in association with Hurricane Helene. As the hurricane moves up, look at all these flash flood advisories being issued, and then the red tornado boxes pop up. So not only do you have the threat of severe weather, and not only do you have heavy rain, partly in association with the weakening trough that is going to loop around here, but then you have the hurricane itself interacting with that. So then you have the severe weather here coming ashore from the hurricane. So that's going to really set the stage for power outages in Florida. Let me update this. Watch these yellows. They're going to get brighter and brighter as more and more people lose power. Look at that. Just as I'm doing this update at 20 to 6 p.m. Eastern, they are losing power left and right in DeSoto, Sarasota, Manatee, Hillsborough, Pinellas County, Pasco, even down into Lee and Collier. You guys are losing power, and that's nothing yet compared to what's going to happen. But even into Georgia, you guys really got to be ready because there are going to be, this map is going to really show a lot of outages. I hate power outages. Make sure that everybody's ready for it because it's going to be really bad. I just want to touch on from the National Hurricane Center the key messages. Number one, a catastrophic and deadly storm surge up to 20 feet above ground level, along with destructive waves along the Florida Big Bend. If you live in this area and you were told to evacuate by local officials, your opportunity to do so is almost over. I think you got like an hour tops. There is also a danger of life-threatening storm surge along the remainder of the west coast of Florida. Secondly, the potentially catastrophic hurricane winds expected within the eye wall will spread inland over North Florida, southern Georgia, and that's going to be very, very nasty. Persons in those areas, be prepared to take shelter, like I said, in the interior portion of a well-built structure and remain sheltered until the conditions pass. Remain sheltered due to downed trees, power lines, and then there's going to be flooding. Damaging wind gusts, that's going to penetrate well inland into the Appalachians. Be prepared for long-duration power outages. If you use a generator, make sure it's at least 20 feet away from doors, windows, and garages. Don't gas yourself, please. Finally, catastrophic, life-threatening flash and urban flooding, including numerous significant landslides, is expected through the Appalachians. So if you're in areas there of Asheville, Chattanooga, you guys are in for it, okay? You really got to make sure you stay on higher ground and hunker down from Hurricane Helene. But yeah, this is one heck of a hurricane, guys. Stay tuned for further coverage. I'll be back with frequent updates on dangerous Hurricane Helene.